Hello guys, welcome back to the MMA Sucker channel. My name is Frazer Krohn. I'm just going to be breaking down the PFL 2022 finals card. It was announced yesterday and it's exciting. We all know what the PFL are about. They put on these tournaments across all the weight classes they have at the moment. And the winner is not only the PFL champion for that season, but they also get turned into a millionaire. It's a $1 million tournament, sorry. We got the card and we knew who'd be in the final. This has been going on since sort of early June time, I believe. And we knew who would be competing in these finals. We didn't know the official date and the official venue, but now we know what we do know already. 25th of November, 2022. They're pitching as MMA's richest night. And I can't say that that's certainly a good way of pitching it. We'll have six millionaires crowned, six champions crowned, all on the same evening. It's taking place New York City, the Hulu Theatre at MSG. I think they probably could have sold out, MSG itself, not having to go to the smaller MSG venue, but it is what it is. I'm just going to talk through what we think that the card will be. Obviously, it was released by PFL yesterday, but it's going to chop and change, I believe. What we do know as well is that the PFL, all the championship fights and two showcase fights, which are just non-tournament fights, will be on pay-per-view. There'll be 4 fights that aren't on pay-per-view, and 7 fights. Sorry, 8 fights. 8 fights. You get an 8-fight pay-per-view card. Obviously, the UFC have traditionally a 5-fight pay-per-view card, but it'll be on ESPN Plus pay-per-view. It's a separate purchase from the ESPN Plus sort of undercard or the prelims, if you will. So from top to bottom, we're going off a sort of a bit of a hybrid of what's been tweeted out there from a couple of the respected names. Marcel Dorf on Twitter, a Dutch MMA journalist, and what's on Tapology. We're not sure about the exact sort of lineup of the card yet. We pretty much know the main and co-main events, but we'll go into them in a second. So opening the card, it's a 12. Like I say, it's a 12-fight card overall. It's been called a showcase fight, and we don't know who's in it yet. Kicking off the card, we're not sure who will be on that card yet. I imagine it'll be prospects, because that's what the PFL like to do. They did that in London when I attended the event. I'd be keen to see Simeon Powell there. I put him in my 25 under 25 that I'll link down below. 25 MMA prospects under the age of 25. It's a really exciting list. So in the next 10 or so years, even, we'll see a lot of the guys that are on that list likely become champion or become top 5 of their division. But that's maybe a discussion for another video. But yeah, so going into the second fight, we got Biagio Ali Walsh versus Tom Grasser. It's an amateur fight. It's at lightweight, and Ali Walsh, grandson of Muhammad Ali, and that's probably why he's on there. The third fight is one that I'm really excited about. I interviewed Dakota Ditchever ahead of PFL London in August. I saw a fight in PFL London in August. Quality performance, and this is a girl that they are really, really pushing the PFL. I'm a little bit disappointed with her opponent, to be honest. Ditchever, she's 6-0 now with, I think, 5 finishes. Yeah, she's 6-0 with 5 finishes. She faced Hasna Gaber last time out, and I'll be honest, I was disappointed in Gaber. Gaber, she bottled it. She one knee to the liver, a couple of strong elbows, and she tapped her strikes on the feet. Was a little bit disappointing because we didn't really get to see how well-rounded Ditchever's game is and what improvements she'd made. But it is what it is. You can only beat what's in front of you. She's now going on to face Catherine Corrigines. I apologize if I butchered the name, but she's 1-0. Corrigines. She's 33 years old and she hasn't fought since 2019. Yes, she did get a stoppage in that fight, but that was against an 0-0 girl. It was two girls making their debut. I'm not quite sure why Ditcheva is being, fed Cara genes. Yes, Ditcheva is still young. She's still, fairly inexperienced in the wider MMA world, just 6-0. But she's got a vast, extensive Muay Thai background. Why are you putting her in there with a girl that's 1-0 who hasn't fought in? I think it'll be over 3 years since she's fought when the two actually face off. Now, you can call me Mystic Mac if it actually comes off, but I don't see Cara Jean's actually making the walk. I think she will probably get replaced by someone a little bit further down the line. But if she hasn't, back at flyweight for Ditcheva, where she fought the weight that she fought at in London, she was the first ever girl it was the first ever women's flyweight fight in PFL history. She deserves the big stage because she's a great talker. Like I say, I interviewed her beforehand. You can check that out on the channel. I'll link it down below again. But she's going to be the poster girl of European MMA for PFL. And to hand her a 1-0 girl, they're probably just looking at, getting her another highlight reel finish. And the third fight, like I say, these might not be, fully confirmed yet, but we've got Nathan Short versus Jeremy Stephens. I mean, Jeremy Stephens, has it worked for him when he's gone over to the PFL? It's difficult. He's clearly on a career decline. He's 1-1 in the PFL. He lost to Clay Collard and beat Miles Price last time out via split decision, but that was a very, very close split decision. I believe, if I remember off the top of my head, he missed away. Prior to that, obviously, he got cut from the UFC on the back of 6 straight losses and a no contest. 5 straight losses and a no contest. It's a fun fight. It's Jeremy Stephens is a name. Nathan Schultz is a name. Schultz coming off that big win against Martin Howard in June. At the end of the day, for me, it is what it is. It's one of those fights that I think it'll be an exciting fight. And why not? Like I say, both these guys are big names. Put them on the biggest card of the year. They will probably be headlining the prelim card. And now we get the main card. Opening up the main card, like I say, as per this lineup that I've got here, don't quote me on this, but I've sort of cross-referenced it on Tapology and whatnot, and it seems to be that opening up the main card, opening up the pay-per-view, Rob Wilkinson versus Amari Akhmedov in the lightweight championship final. These guys, Wilkinson, since leaving the UFC, has been on an absolute tear. He lost to Adesanya. He then went 2-0 outside of the UFC in MMA. He went 2-0 in kickboxing, outside of the UFC, 1-0 in boxing. And then he started this season with an absolute vengeance. He's 3 wins, 3 finishes, barely made it out of the first round. He scored a 46-second knockout in the second round in his PFL debut. He's definitely the favorite going into there. Akhmedov, obviously, again, another UFC veteran, is also looking solid in this year's PFL. He's 3-0 again with 2 finishes. He knocked off the undefeated Josh Silveira last time out, who I believe was he was the late notice sort of fill-in for Antonio Carlos Jr. Obviously, Junior had to pull out of that one with an injury, and Akhmedov beat Silveira. But for fans of Australian MMA, I think you've got a PFL champion on your hands, Rob Wilkinson, and I can see him doing it by finish. Like I say, he's been an absolute tear, and he deserves to be opening up the card. He's an exciting fighter, and he's an exciting fight, and it's an exciting fight. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Next up is the welterweight championship final between Sabadou Sai and Dillian Taylor. This is one that I don't think a lot of people would have predicted would have been the final at the beginning of the tournament. Taylor coming in on late notice as coming off a loss as an alternative. Rory McDonald obviously was scheduled to fight Magomed Umlatov. Umamatov. Again, I apologize for butchering that, but and Taylor retired Rory McDonald. Rory McDonald was a heavy favorite, I believe, in the MMA sucker pick. Sorry, that we all picked Rory to finish to win that, and probably all picked him via finish. I can't remember off the top of my head. Taylor came in, knocked out Rory McDonald, and sent him into retirement, and put himself in a position where he can now win $1 million. It's a phenomenal rise, from a guy that was literally in the July was finished, and in the August, knocked out Roy McDonald in Cardiff with giving himself an opportunity to shoot to stardom. He needs to shoot his shot, and he did so. And Saudi Sa, maybe the best nickname, the Swedish Denzel Washington. He's 3-0 this year. He obviously holds the win over Roy McDonald via decision. He's gone to decision 3 times now in a row. It's interesting. I think Sai obviously has the experience of the big fights. He's got 20 fights to Taylor's 12. But I fancy Taylor to pull off the upset here. Can you just imagine if he does? It'll be a phenomenal story. Next up, you got the lightweight championship. Next up, you've got a showcase fight. Again, it's to be arranged at what weight, and we don't know who will be. So we don't know who the showcase fight will feature, and we also don't know what weight or anything about that fight really. But there will be a showcase fight, sort of breaking up the championship fights. So there'll be 2 championship fights, a showcase fight, 2 championship fights, a showcase fight, and then the co-main and main event. So after the showcase fight, the lightweight title, the lightweight championship final, Oliver Aubin Mercier versus Stevie Ray. So this is again another phenomenal fight, and another really competitive fight. If you would have told me Stevie Ray, after his loss to Alex Martinez in April, would be in the final, I'd have told you were lying. He finished Anthony Pettis with that modified twister, and then he finished him he beat him by decision again in the sort of semi-final, as it were. A really, really good performance by Stevie Ray. We've got an interesting interview with him up on the site as well, so be sure to check that out. And it's going to be a really interesting fight because you've got Stevie Ray. He's well-rounded. He's clearly, that modified twister speaks for itself. He's competed in Polaris against Paddy Pimblett. He was always good on the ground. Then you've got Aubin Mercier, who, the Canadian gangster, as his nickname suggests. Some good nicknames on this card. But he's undefeated in the PFL. His last loss was to Arman Sarukian back in 2019. But he's beat Martin Held, he's beat Darryl Hawtrey, he's beat Nathan Schultz, who's obviously on the card. He's beat Raush Manifo, and he also beat Alex Martinez. It's going to be a tough one for Stevie Ray because I think Aubin Mercier is a really, really solid all-round fighter on the feet, on the ground, knows how to get his fight to the ground. He's got obviously a really good relationship with Faraz Zahabi over at TriStar. So, again, it's just another fight that I'm excited for. And talk about excitement. We've then got the heavyweight championship final between Delija and Sheffel. These guys, what you're getting from heavyweights. These are huge guys that can wrestle, that can, box, that can. The ground and pound finish of Ferreira by Delija last time out, brutal. And the same with Sheffield. To be honest, his finish of Juan Adams late on in their fight in Cardiff was. It was a late notice fight for Sheffield, and he stepped up to the plate and he didn't only beat Juan Adams, but he finished Juan Adams, which it isn't an easy thing to do. Finish Juan Adams, He was finished in Fury FC. He was finished in twice in the UFC. But if you look at the guys that he's being finished by, Greg Hardy, yes, think about what you will about Greg Hardy, but he's a heavy hitter. Justin Taffer, think about what you will about Justin Taffer. He's a heavy hitter. Austin Lane, we saw on the Contender Series a few weeks ago, heavy hitter. And so, yeah, to finish Ryan Adams is certainly impressive. I don't know which way this one will, sorry about that. I don't know which way this one will go, but it's certainly exciting. And then, like I said, we've got another showcase fight then to break up the championship bouts. Now, we do know who's featuring in this showcase fight. Shane Burgos versus Marlon Moraes at featherweight will be the showcase fight, the third fight down on the card. What a fight this is. Shane Burgos making his PFL debut. Obviously, he's coming off the win against Charles Jourdain. Big story. I wrote the story on I wrote about the story, on MMAsucker.com. So again, I'll link that below. And then Marlon Moraes, one of the shortest MMA retirements that we've ever witnessed. Again, years and years ago now, I wrote MMA retirement is not forever. How many people have we seen retire and come back? Just off the top of my head, George St. Pierre, Stefan Struve, Conor McGregor, supposedly, and now Marlon Moraes and Henry Cejudo. But yeah, Marlon Moraes is adding his name to that list. You know, he retired on pretty rough terms with the UFC, not personal terms, but just form wise. You know, after he sort of failed in his title shot with Henry Cejudo for that vacant belt, he then bounced back with a very contentious decision against Jose Aldo. But then he suffered 4 finish losses in a row to Corey Sandhagen, Rob Font, Merab Dvalishvili, and Song Yadong. Now these are four probably top, like the 4 top 10 guys, and you know Merab and Corey Sandhagen and Rob Font's definitely on the cusp of a top 5. So it's not like he's losing to nobodies. But he retired in March and is already back fighting in November. That's not a retirement. That's just maybe it was a slow news week that week. But yeah, Marlon Moraes now fighting up at featherweight, which I'm excited for because his gas tank was, for want of a better word, shite at bantamweight. We saw him gas multiple times, especially late on. So not having to cut that weight, he's a big guy. So not having to cut that weight or doing the world of good, I think. And against Shane Burgos, it's just an all-action fight, and there's a reason why it's the third fight down on the card. Moving forward, you've got the featherweight championship main event. In the co-main event, Brendan Loughnane versus Bubba Jenkins. Again, another fight that we're just so excited for. How is this one going to go? Saw both guys live in London. Brendan Loughnane, dominating Chris Wade over 15 minutes, and in a performance that many didn't expect. Chris Wade was the favourite going in there, and yet Brendan Loughnane just didn't let him get off any of his offense. He marked him up. He kept him busy with the jab. It was just a really good performance from Loughnane. But then it wasn't even the best featherweight performance on the card because Bubba Jenkins, rear naked choke, 1 minute 49 of the first round against Kudo. Jenkins is certainly the favourite going into this one because of how strong his wrestling game is now. That's not to say that Loughnane has got poor wrestling by any stretch. That's not the case, and we know that. But Bubba Jenkins is a phenomenal wrestler, and we'll just see in this one: is it Bubba Jenkins' time, or can Brendan Loughnane finally, get over the hurdle and become not only a millionaire but the featherweight championship sort of winner of the 2022 tournament, and most importantly, kind of proved Dana White wrong. He had his opportunity on the Contender Series, and he wasn't given a contract. I mean, if I'm Brendan Loughnane, I'm laughing now because, I'm not going to get into fighter pay because I'll be here for the next 3 hours. But a million, how many UFC fighters are millionaires? Let's just leave it at that. And Brendan Loughnane has the opportunity now to become a millionaire on the 25th of November in New York City. It's so exciting for Brendan. And, from a British buyer's point of view, I hope that him, Stevie Ray, and Dakota Ditchever can all get it done in stunning fashion. And moving on to the main event, For me, the pound for pound best woman on the planet, Kayla Harrison, takes on Larissa Pacheco in, I believe it's a trilogy bout. These girls have faced off twice before, with predictably, Kayla's 15-0. So, what that would suggest is Kayla's obviously beaten Pacheco twice now. She's just been on a tear, Kayla Harrison, as has Pacheco since the last time they fought. Kayla, 50, like I say, 15-0, with 12 finishes. The only fights that have gone to decision for Kayla Harrison, twice against Pacheco, and then once in May of this year against Marina Mokhtarkina. I'll be honest, I don't even remember that fight going down, but it is what it is. What that would suggest is that Pacheco is not an easy girl to finish on the ground, and Harrison is not an easy girl to hit on the feet, because Pacheco, we know what this is. This is judo versus the boxing of Pacheco. Pacheco, maybe the hardest hitting female. I mean, yes, we've got Amanda Nunes. Yes, we've got Chris Cyborg. But Pacheco is an absolute steam train when she hits somebody. She's got 5 first-round finishes in a row since losing 2 years ago to 3 years ago, my bad, to Kayla. 5 first-round finishes in a row. She, like I say, she hits like an absolute truck. And again, I wrote an article on this. Kayla Harrison implores the PFL to allow elbows, because Kayla believes, speaking to her, when she was speaking to the media, we were all there at the backstage of UFC London. She believes that the only reason that she didn't finish Pacheco is because Pacheco knows how to survive on the ground. And the reason that she knows how to survive on the ground is because elbows aren't in play in the PFL. You're not allowed to elbow your opponent on the ground. She's imploring the PFL to allow elbows on the ground so she believes that she can finish Pacheco. Like I say, it's a trilogy bout between the two, with Kayla 2-0 to the good, as it were. But understand that Kayla is a different animal, and I think Pacheco will definitely give her a fight. I can even see, Kayla losing a couple of rounds in this one, because Pacheco has made such improvements since their last fought. But I do think that, the will and the determination of Kayla Harrison is probably going to get it done for her in November. But, that was just a rough breakdown. Me and Tim will be back on the MMA Sucker podcast soon. And the week before this, expect me to go in depth on all the fights, a lot more in depth on all the fights, because I'm so excited. I think the PFL has definitely cemented itself as the second best promotion behind the UFC, and the UFC is going to take a lot to knock the UFC off. But with that being said, this PFL card is rivaling any UFC card, aside from maybe the upcoming Abu Dhabi card, for the card of the year, in my opinion. There's so many compelling fights, there's so many close fights, and there's a lot of fights that could easily go either way. They're not knockover fights. And I think UFC 279 as a pay-per-view, aside from the drama surrounding it, was a pretty poor card. But the drama surrounding it kind of dampened that. This card on paper is a lot stronger than any card that we've seen this year so far from the UFC. We will see that card in Abu Dhabi, but like I said, I think the PFL World Championship pay-per-view, New York City, MMA's richest night, 6 world title fights, £6 million on the line, 6 millionaires will be crowned, 6 champions will be crowned. Be sure to tune in, guys, because it's going to be an absolutely phenomenal night. I've been Frazer Krohn for MMA Sucker. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you soon.